This is an update video of the tragedy that occurred against Mrs. Barbara A. Baumgarten, property resident of 21 Chestnut Street, CENTEREACH, New York, 11720. I am property deed holder of 21 Chestnut Street. I became property deed holder October 2007 through the prior homeowner gifting the house to my family due to several tragedies that have happened against the Baumgarten versus the County of Suffolk, etc. all. There are pending lawsuits on the entire matters, but at this point, I'm back at my residence today, and as you can see, after the tragedy that happened on February 21st of 2010, the town of Brookhaven, formerly known as Crookhaven, that's what you guys are, Crookhaven. You're bullies, you're criminals, and you're not honest people. They came to my property and bulldozed down all my trees that were here to an historical piece of property since 1908. This entire piece of property was built in 1908 by 6 Roman Catholic priests by the Virgin Mary Assumption Church. Right across the street is the church. But at this point, turn the video over here, please. Turn the video over here, Karen. At this point, all of my trees have been bulldozed by the town of Brookhaven. They had no legal jurisdiction. They had no permits, and furthermore, they did not have my permission, the homeowner. But at this point, I have filed a $100 million lawsuit pro se. I am a pro se litigant. For those that do not know what a pro se litigant is, I represent myself. I represent my property. I represent my family. But at this point, I'm continuing pro se. I filed a $100 million lawsuit against the County of Suffolk Sheriff's Department, IndyMac Bank, One West Bank, and Federal Home Loan Mortgage Corporation, the real estate broker First in Patcchogue, and their contractors. But getting back to what happened on February 1st, the Suffolk County Sheriff's Department did an unlawful eviction.
21st, right?
Yes. February 21st, 2012, they did an unlawful eviction. I was getting ready to go to work. I do health care. That's what pays my bills, everybody. I only make $10 an hour right now. But I have a beautiful couple that I take care of. She happens to be 90 years old. And Kay, I love you. And Leon, I'll be back to work. But due to the tragedy that happened on February 21st, Suffolk County Sheriff's Department broke into my house right here. This is my front door. Karen, just shoot the camera. This is my front door where on February 21st, Suffolk County Sheriff's Department did break in my door. They broke in my door with guns and a crowbar. They had a crowbar. They entered into my property and they said, "Come down now, Miss Baumgarten." I said, "Why are you guys in my home? Get out of my house now. Get out of my house now. Do you have a warrant? Do you have probable cause? Do you have any 72-hour notice?" They had no documents, no papers, no warrants, but most of all, they did not have a 72-hour notice. In New York State, it is essential that you have a 72-hour notice, quote unquote, when any sheriff's department does an eviction against any property, any business property. You must obtain the correct and accurate paperwork from district court, Supreme Court, but the 72-hour notice is very important. On the day in question, the Suffolk County Sheriff's Department, after forcefully threatening me, I was threatened by the Suffolk County deputy, name unknown. He was a tall man, black hair, very violent. He used very strong words. He threatened me not to dial 911. I ran back upstairs to try to get my phone, my pocketbook, but I was ordered out of my house on February 21st, 2012 with no probable cause, no valid warrants, and no 72-hour notice, and no valid court papers. That's the most important thing at this point to this story of the tragedy that happened on February 21st, 2012, at my property address, 21 Chestnut Street, CENTEREACH, New York, 11720, County of Suffolk, State of New York. I love New York. I represent New York. I represent every homeowner in New York for injustices that are going on from frivolous banks, IndyMac Bank, One West Bank, Bank of America, Federal Home Loan Mortgage Corporation. On February 3rd, 2012, my New York State Attorney General Eric Schneiderman filed a lawsuit in Kings County against 5 banks. 5 banks. That lawsuit was filed and commenced in Kings County Criminal Court against the 5 banks. The one bank, Federal Home Loan Mortgage Corporation, that stole my deed, that took my deed unlawfully, illegally, through predatory fraud lending. Now, a lot of people don't know what predatory fraud lending is. Well, I'm going to tell you. It's called the ROBO signing scheme, and that's what has happened here and against thousands of homeowners throughout Suffolk County, Nassau County, and the state of New York. And that's why New York State Attorney General's Office, Eric T. Schneiderman, his Deputy Bureau Chief, Jeffrey Powell, that wrote the lawsuit and commenced the lawsuit on February 3rd, 2012 against these banks for committing fraud. And that's what this is all about. It's fraud. It's fraud, it's ethnic abuse, power of abuse, and at this point, civil rights violation, homeowners' rights violations, state and federal civil rights violations. But at this point, my deed was unlawfully sold through predatory robo-signing scheme. The people that were involved were IndyMac Bank, formerly known as One West Bank, and Federal Home Loan Mortgage Corporation. In addition, Federal Home Loan Mortgage Corporation obtained my deed unlawfully, illegally, through an unlawful, fraudulent foreclosure that occurred against this property through robo-signing scheme and robo-signing fraudulent signatures. The prior homeowner, they allege, owed money to IndyMac Bank. Wherefore, we have proof on record through legal documents that has been obtained from Suffolk County Clerk's Office, Riverhead, New York, 11901. My spokesperson and I have done extensive research, and we have all the deeds that have been on this property since 1908. We also have the mortgage list. The mortgage list includes the mortgagors, the mortgagees, the grantors, and the grantees. Wherefore, at this point, it's a big mess. In Italian, we call it a big and a bruja. A big and a bruja that the County of Suffolk, Suffolk Sheriff's Department, Suffolk County Police has all co-conspired in doing an unlawful eviction. But at this point, I am reaching out to the public, the State of New York Attorney General's Office, any civil rights attorney that may be able to represent me at this point. It is a real estate civil rights matter. My civil rights, federal rights have been violated by Suffolk County Sheriff, Suffolk County Police. I do have other lawsuits, wherefore my attorney, Vincent Fontana, is representing. I need media coverage. I need a press conference, but at this point, this is a crime that has been committed against my property. I will stand here and defend and fight for my property. I will tell you, the lawyers, IndyMac, One West, and Federal Home Loan Mortgage Corporation, my property that I worked for, that I've invested in, has been destroyed, has been ruined. This home is a religious, sacred home. Right here stood my American flag. My American flag, wherefore it has been torn down. My United Haitian flag has been destroyed. My American flag they destroyed. On the day in question, when the Suffolk County Sheriff's Department ordered 2 truckloads of men, they jumped out like soldiers, ready to attack, forcefully, violently. As they approached my property, they cleaned out my house. My entire furniture was destroyed. Glasses were broken, beds destroyed, dresses destroyed. My grandchildren's bedrooms, clothes, toys, my picture frames, my china. But most of all, on the day in question, these people that the Sheriff's Department allowed to come back in my home, okay, on that day in question, they allowed these people to come back in my home and rob me. At this point, they stole TVs, DVDs, VCRs, over $50,000 in my jewels, diamonds, and they stole all of my food. I had enough food in this house to feed my community. I was the resources. I helped people. I helped the homeless. I helped those that were less fortunate than myself. They destroyed 5 refrigerators. They tore the hands off the refrigerators and disposed them and left me a bare refrigerator. This crime that was committed, they violated my 4th, 5th, 14th Amendment rights, my First Amendment rights, my property rights. They violated the Bill of Rights that President Barack Obama that just signed into office protecting my rights as a homeowner. But at this point, this was done unlawfully, illegally, I believe, to steal my evidence that was in this house. The evidence that was in my office, I was representing high-profile civil rights cases, 1983 civil rights cases, wherefore, under color of authority, my 2 daughters that are African interracial and my grandchildren that are African interracial, our civil rights and federal rights have been violated by the County of Suffolk, the Police Department, Department of Social Services, DSS, CPS, and the entire district court system. Prior to this happening, I had 24 people from the town of Brookhaven break in my home in '08, February of '08. They acted worse than German Gestapos. Those 24 people consist of Suffolk County Police, town attorneys, town investigators, alleging that I was a homeowner and that I needed 10 building permits because they were alleging that I built this property. Well, for facts, that's on the deed, that's in the town of Brookhaven's building department's records. These are actual records that are kept at the town of Brookhaven. This house was built in 1908 by 6 Roman Catholic priests. It is the original Virgin Mary Roman Catholic Church. It's a very sacred piece of land and a home. It has 5 bathrooms. It was divided into quarters for the priests. They alleged that I was using apartments, renting it out. They called my daughter a colored tenant. Wow, that's another civil rights violation. Colored tenant, wow. You know, in spite of filing a $90 million lawsuit, you would think that they would have learned their lesson, but they didn't. They came after me again, and again, and again. In '09, I was upstairs in a pair of shorts, relaxing in my home, September 15th of '09, working on a brief, having a cup of coffee. My daughter was downstairs with my grandson, taking care of the baby in his nursery. All of a sudden, I had 2 Suffolk County Police Department officers from the 6th Precinct break in my home again. They came upstairs, plain clothes, jeans, and a t-shirt, and wanted to talk to me. I asked them, what was this about? They stated, well, just come downstairs. I said, get the hell out of my house. You know, Suffolk County Police Department